People said nothing could enter the billionaire's mansion without permission. The walls were high, the gates were heavy, guards stood alert day and night. Cameras watched every corner. Yet one afternoon, a barefoot homeless boy slipped through a small opening near the hedge. No alarms rang, no guards noticed, and in that moment, fate quietly stepped inside. The boy was thin and tired. His clothes were torn. His feet were bare and dirty from walking the streets all day. His stomach hurt with hunger, but his eyes were alive. He didn't come to steal. He didn't come to beg. He came because he saw someone who looked just as lonely as he felt. That someone was a little girl sitting silently in a wheelchair. Her name was Emma Hale. Emma was 9 years old, but sadness had made her look older. Her hands rested quietly on her lap. Her eyes stared ahead, empty, like she was watching a world she could no longer join. She hadn't laughed in a very long time. She hadn't smiled either. Her father, Jonathan Hale, was one of the richest men in the city. Some people called him a genius. Others called him cold. His companies ruled oil, real estate, and shipping. When Jonathan spoke, powerful people listened. When he invested, markets moved. To the world, he had everything. But inside his mansion, Jonathan Hale was broken. 2 years ago, a terrible accident changed his life forever. A car crash on a rainy night took the life of his wife, Sarah, the love of his life. Emma survived the crash, but her spine was badly injured. From that day on, her legs never moved again. Jonathan remembered Emma before the accident. She used to run through the garden, chasing butterflies. She danced to music in the living room. She laughed loudly and asked endless questions. She was full of life. After the accident, that child slowly disappeared. Jonathan tried everything money could buy: the best doctors, the best hospitals, surgeries in Europe, therapy in America, treatments in Asia. Nothing worked. Each time Emma came home quieter than before. Her wheelchair became part of her body. Her laughter faded until it vanished completely. One day, Emma stopped asking, "Daddy, will I walk again?" That was the day Jonathan felt truly afraid. This afternoon, Emma was outside in the garden. Her nanny had wheeled her under a large tree and stepped away for a phone call. The garden was silent. Birds chirped softly. The wind moved the leaves. Emma felt nothing. Then she noticed movement. Near the hedge, a boy stood watching her. He looked nervous at first, like he might run away. But when Emma looked at him, he smiled. Not a small smile, a big, silly smile, the kind that made no sense in such a serious place. Before Emma could say anything, the boy started dancing. It wasn't good dancing. It wasn't smooth. It was funny. He moved his arms too much. He jumped and almost fell. He made strange faces. He spun around and pretended to trip. He looked completely ridiculous. Emma blinked. She hadn't seen anything like this since before the accident. A small sound escaped her mouth, a giggle. The boy froze. His eyes grew wide. Then he grinned even bigger and danced harder. He rolled on the grass. He jumped up. He bowed like a king. Emma laughed again, louder this time. Inside the mansion, Jonathan Hale heard that sound. He stopped walking. His heart skipped. That sound, it couldn't be. He rushed to the balcony overlooking the garden. His hands trembled as he looked down. What he saw made his breath catch. Emma was laughing. Not a small smile, not a polite laugh. Real laughter. She was clapping her hands. Her face was bright. Her eyes were alive. And in front of her was a barefoot homeless boy dancing like his life depended on it. Jonathan's first reaction was anger. Who was this boy? How did he get inside? Where were the guards? What if he was dangerous? He opened his mouth to shout. Then he looked at Emma again. She hadn't laughed like that in over a year. Jonathan closed his mouth. He stayed silent. He watched from behind the pillar, afraid that if he interrupted, the moment would disappear. After a while, the boy bowed deeply. Emma clapped again. The boy smiled at her one last time and quietly slipped back through the hedge. That evening at dinner, Emma spoke more than she had in weeks. "Daddy," she said softly, The dancing boy was funny. Jonathan's chest tightened. "What dancing boy?" he asked gently. "The one in the garden," she replied. "Will he come back?" Jonathan didn't know how to answer. The boy's name was Leo. At least, that's what he told people. Nobody knew where he came from. Nobody knew his parents. Leo slept wherever he could find shelter, under bridges, behind closed shops, sometimes near bus stations. He was always hungry. But Leo had one thing that kept him alive. He danced. When people ignored him, he danced. When hunger hurt too much, he danced. Dancing made him forget his pain. It made people smile. Sometimes they gave him coins, sometimes they didn't, but for a moment he felt seen. The next day, Leo returned to the mansion. He was scared. He thought guards might catch him, but when he looked through the hedge, he saw Emma waiting. Her wheelchair faced the garden. Her eyes searched for him. When she saw him, she smiled. Leo stepped out and danced again. Emma laughed. This time, Jonathan came down to the garden. Leo stopped dancing when he saw the tall man walking toward him. He prepared to run. Jonathan studied the boy closely, the torn clothes, the thin arms, the dirty feet, the steady eyes. "What's your name?" Jonathan asked. "Leo," the boy said quietly. "Why are you here?" Leo swallowed. "She looked sad," he said. "I just wanted to make her laugh. I didn't want anything." Emma spoke quickly. "Daddy, please don't send him away." Jonathan looked at his daughter. Her cheeks were flushed. Her posture was better. She looked alive. "You can stay," Jonathan said slowly, "for now." 1 day became 3. 3 days became a week. Leo came every afternoon. He danced. He joked. He made silly sounds. Emma laughed. She clapped harder. She lifted her arms to copy him. Sometimes her toes moved when she laughed too much. Jonathan noticed everything. Doctors noticed too. "She's responding emotionally," one doctor said. "This kind of joy can help recovery." One afternoon, Leo danced in slow motion. Emma laughed so hard she leaned forward. Suddenly, she stopped laughing. She placed her hands on the wheelchair. She pushed. Her shoulders lifted. Her body trembled. She rose slightly, just an inch, then fell back, breathing hard. Silence filled the garden. Then Leo shouted, "You did it." Jonathan dropped to his knees beside Emma. Tears filled his eyes. Emma smiled and whispered, "Daddy, I moved." Jonathan held her hand tightly. In that moment, he understood something clearly. This homeless boy had done what money could not. And this was only the beginning. The moment Emma said, "Daddy, I moved," something broke inside Jonathan Hale, not in a painful way, but in a way that let light enter places that had been dark for too long. He held her hands tightly, afraid the moment would disappear if he let go. Leo stood beside them, breathing fast, his face shining with joy like he had just witnessed magic. For the rest of that day, Jonathan could not stop thinking. A boy with nothing had done what millions of dollars could not. That night, when Emma finally slept, Jonathan sat alone in his study, staring at the city lights outside his window, asking himself one question again and again. Who is this boy, really? The next morning, Jonathan made a decision. He told the guards clearly, "The boy is allowed in. No one stops him." When Leo arrived that afternoon, nervous as always, he was surprised to see Jonathan waiting for him in the garden. Instead of anger, the billionaire offered him food. Real food, a full plate. Leo ate slowly, carefully, like someone who knew hunger too well to rush. Emma watched him eat and smiled. "He dances better when he's full," she joked. Jonathan smiled too. It felt strange. His house had not felt this light in years. Days turned into weeks. Leo came every afternoon. He danced, but he also talked now. He told Emma stories about the streets, about funny people at the bus station, about dogs that chased him, about nights when the stars were the only roof he had. Emma listened like the world had opened again. She started trying harder during therapy because Leo cheered for her. "One more," he would say. "You're strong." And slowly, very slowly, Emma's body responded. She sat straighter. Her arms grew stronger. Her legs still didn't move freely, but they didn't feel dead anymore. Doctors began to notice the change. One of them pulled Jonathan aside. "I can't promise miracles," he said honestly, "but this joy, this motivation, it's powerful. Keep this boy around." Jonathan nodded. Inside his chest, something warm spread. For the first time since the accident, he felt hope that didn't come from medicine. One evening, after Leo finished dancing, Jonathan asked him a simple question. "Where do you sleep at night?" Leo looked down. "Anywhere," he said. "Sometimes under the bridge, sometimes behind shops." Emma's smile faded. "That's not fair," she said softly. Jonathan felt a tight pain in his chest. That night, he barely slept again. The next day, Jonathan asked Leo to sit with him, not to dance, just to talk. Leo was nervous. No adult had ever asked him about his life like that. Slowly, he told his story. He didn't know his father. His mother died when he was very young. He grew up around markets and bus parks. People helped when he was small. When he got older, they stopped. "Dancing makes people see me," Leo said quietly. "When I dance, I don't feel invisible." Jonathan listened without interrupting. When Leo finished, the billionaire said something that changed the boy's life forever. "You don't have to go back to the streets," Jonathan said. Leo looked up, confused. "You can stay here." The boy's eyes filled with tears. "Really?" he whispered. Emma reached for Leo's hand. "Please stay," she said. Jonathan nodded. "This is your home now." That night, Leo slept in a real bed for the first time in his life. Clean sheets, a soft pillow, a roof that didn't leak. He cried quietly until sleep took him. News traveled fast. People began to whisper, a billionaire letting a homeless boy live in his mansion. Some praised Jonathan, others judged him. Business partners warned him, "This could hurt your image," they said. "People will talk." Jonathan listened calmly. "Let them," he replied. "My daughter is smiling again." Emma's recovery continued. With Leo beside her, she tried standing again. This time she stood longer, 5 seconds, then 10. The day she took her first small step, holding Leo's hand, the whole house cried. Jonathan covered his face, unable to stop his tears. He had never felt richer in his life. One afternoon, Emma said something simple that sealed everything. "Daddy," she said, "Leo is my brother." Jonathan laughed softly, tears in his eyes. "Yes," he said, "he is." Months later, Emma walked across the garden without her wheelchair for the first time. Leo danced beside her, cheering loudly. The mansion that once felt empty was now full of laughter. Jonathan watched them and understood the truth at last. Money can build walls, but love builds homes. He had searched the world for a cure and found it in kindness. Leo went to school. Emma grew stronger. Jonathan became a different man, not just a billionaire, but a father who learned what true wealth really meant. And it all began the day a barefoot boy danced. Not for money, not for food, but simply to make a sad girl smile. The end.